Good morning. We have another coffee talk for you guys, even though our coffee is too hot to drink right now. Today's topic is tips for the tippers, the tip challenge contestants, and it may help a few Extreme Mustang makeover people as well. But I've got 3 tips, Katie's got 3 tips, so we're gonna go through those and hopefully it helps you guys. Tip 1 from Craig is set worthy goals. What is a worthy goal? Like teaching this horse to lay down, winning, top 5, Liberty, the Spanish walk, trotting in hand without having to pull on your rope. Whatever it is, set worthy goals for what it will make of you to achieve them. I like to set goals, certain things like that I've never achieved, and I actually like to mix up my goals. So I like to have achievable, like stuff that I would get done, like trotting in hand, on a loose rope. And I also like to have something I've never done. So you can have some that are pretty tough and some that are not so tough, so you can check those off when you reach them. But that's my first tip for you, is set worthy goals. Write them down and revisit them. Don't be afraid to edit them. You can change them too. So write them down and check in on those regularly as you're making your way through the competition.
Yeah, on the goals topic, a lot of people, we tell them to set goals, and they kind of set, I don't know if you call it like silly goals, like, oh, I just want to survive, or I just want to not die.
Don't die.
Yeah.
I just want to make it to the competition, which isn't a terrible goal if you've never done
if
one.
You've never been to a show or made it to a tip challenge, that's a fine goal. If you've already done 5 tip challenges and I just want to make it to the show, no, you can do better than that. It's time to step up your game.
Step it up. Don't be afraid to miss. Look, every time I go, my goal is to win, and I haven't won nearly as many times as I've gone, so it's okay to miss the target. But if you set a good target and you miss, it's still, you're going to be better off than if you set a crap target and you hit. So
tip number 1 from Katie: treat them like a domestic horse. The longer you treat your horse like it's wild, the longer they're going to act like they're wild. So obviously do what you need to do to keep yourself safe and the horse safe, but you've got to get past the point of walking up to them carefully to put your halter on, or sneaking around them. At some point you just need to start treating them like they're a domestic horse. And the sooner you do that, the sooner they're going to start acting like a domestic horse. Same thing with kids. You treat them like they're more mature than they are, because if you don't, they just never learn how to mature. So. And
this is a mistake we all make. We all treat them wild, and then after we've worked with 1 or 2, we realize treat them like a horse. And yes, you've got to take your time in areas, and you've got to get over the hump in this area and that area and whatnot. But treat them wild, they just keep acting wild. Tip number 2 from Craig: get help. We should all reach out for help. Here's the thing. I know there's some of you out there that are like, I've had horses my whole life, and I've trained 1,000 million horses before. Well, I've made a comprehensive list of all the people that should get help. People that should get help. Everyone should get help. All of us get help because, what's the expression? It takes 4 lifetimes to learn all there is to know about horses or whatever. So you got to take advantage of what other people know, because we all know different things. We all have different experiences. So, and I'm not saying go on Facebook and say, what do I do for XYZ? That is not getting help, and it's not probably going to help, because 99% of the answers aren't very good, and you're also relying on your diagnosis of what's going wrong, which might not be correct. So you may have to haul your horse to someone. If you really need help when you're stuck, there's a lot of us that will help you out of a jam. And I shouldn't say this, but be a little bit picky who you get help from. But at the end of the day, just get help. But if you can, go to somebody that's had success with Mustangs and kind of knows the deal. But if you can't, and you're 5 hours from anyone that's ever trained a Mustang, and you got a trainer that'll help you, well, they'll do. Use them.
Okay, tip number 2 from Katie. Spend more time doing less. I tell this to a lot of people when they get Mustangs. So what that means is, instead of, this is kind of in your early stage of getting them gentle and getting them to be domestic and enjoy being around people, getting them more relaxed with people, handling them here. So what I mean by that is, don't just go in your pen or get your horse out and just work on this and work on that and make them trot, make them pivot, make them back, make them do things constantly, because then their anxiety is not really going to go down much, because every time they're with you, you're asking them to perform, you're asking them to do something, learn something. I try really hard to get my horses to fall asleep. That's the kind of horse I want. I want a horse that when I stop asking them to do something, they go to sleep. So spend more time doing less. That means you want to spend time with your horse doing nothing. So you could be grooming them. You could be sitting there holding them, looking at your phone, reading a book, whatever. All that stuff is really good. Just let your horse figure out that just because they're with you doesn't mean they have to be learning or physically doing something. You know, you just need a lot of that, just hangout time. And I've always noticed the Mustangs that come in with really long tangled up manes tend to get better with people faster, because their person has spent 4 hours untangling their mane, where the horse learns that nothing's expected of them other than just stand there and be quiet. So that's just something to remember. If you're one of those more go-getter type people that is constantly asking your horse to do something, try to remember to spend time where you're not asking your horse to do things too.
This pair is really good with her first tip, because the first tip is kind of for people that haven't had a lot of Mustangs, and so they do nothing. And then on your second, third, fourth Mustang, you've got it figured out, and now you're always doing something. So it's like you go through this thing. The first one, you just try to feed them a handful of hay every day, and they never get any better, and you treat them like they're wild, and you sneak up to them to put the halter on. And then you figure out, oh, don't do that. So then the next one, you don't hardly spend time hanging out and petting them. You're always moving their feet and getting them to do something. And then you're like, well, this one's not getting gentle, and this one doesn't trust me. And it's like, well, I mean, you're always making them do something. So once you get past your first one or two, then you become the drill sergeant, and then now you've got new problems. So guess what? They're both important. Do nothing, also do something, and treat them like they're a domestic horse, not a wild one. Tip 3 from Craig: run your own race. Don't get so caught up in what everyone else is doing. I know they're posting on Facebook. Guess what? The Facebook fairy tale is not that real. They're showing you their highlight reel, as they should, as you should too. We are proud of what we do, and we should post it. It's going to bug people. Like when I post something good with my horse, I'm proud of my horse, I'm proud of myself, and I should post it so my friends and family can see what's going on in my life. That's probably going to upset people that aren't as far along. So say you're one of those people, you get upset. I'm not saying people shouldn't post what's going good, but for you, stay in your lane and run your own race and focus on your strengths and weaknesses, your horse's strengths and weaknesses, and be consistent and build what you can build. Don't jump off the tracks and go down a whole new path because someone else is already hauling their horse or doing big stuff or teaching tricks, because I promise they're going through some trials and tribulations too. And if you stay consistent, that's going to be the best you can do with your horse. So don't let that stuff mess with you too much, and support those people. Like, hey, awesome, congratulations, looks great. When we run our own race and we focus on what we can do to the best of our ability, that's where our best results lie. It may not mean we win, but maybe our best at this one with who shows up and what we drew is third place. Well, if we push too hard and we get mad at our horse, well, we might be looking at fifth place. So, you know, from now until you're done showing, just focus on you, and then go back to my tip 2, get help when you get stuck. And you will have the best results that you and that horse can have, because that horse plays a big factor in how well the two of you will do when it comes time to show.
It's important to realize that people aren't posting their success necessarily on purpose to make you feel behind or feel bad. A lot of us, when we get these horses, we're not intended to keep them, and we start posting all the good things as early as possible to find potential buyers in new homes for these horses and make them look as best we can. So just realize too, like a lot of those posts are not intended to make you feel like you're behind. It's more to show what a good horse that horse is and find some new home for it.
And some people are trying to get in your head, and it's working. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Run your own race. Don't worry about them. Don't let them derail you.
Tip 3 from Katie: tie your horse up. You want to tie them up every day. And tying them up for 10 minutes is not enough. They need to learn how to be tied up for several hours. We tie them up, and if they're acting foolish and digging and pawing or whatever, they stay there until they're nice and quiet and well behaved. And then on top of that, you know, let's say you tie your horse up a bunch at home, and then you go to the show and you tie them up. Well, if you only ever tied them in the same spot at home, and you go to a show or go somewhere else, and now they're tied up in a completely different spot, they might be a little upset. So we try to tie them up in all different places. We have lots of different spots at our place to tie, and it could be like 10 feet down the fence. It doesn't have to be across your property, but we tie them to our round pen, we tie them in the arena, we tie them outside the arena. If we need to, we'll tie them to the trailer, tie them in the trailer. We'll take them over to a tree and tie them to the tree. You know, they've got to learn to just stand and do nothing in a lot of different environments, just different scenery, different things going on. So get a little bit creative. Obviously, you always want to tie them in a safe spot. Don't go tie them to a barbed wire fence or something stupid, or a tiny tree that's going to break if they pull it over. Those horses that learn to tie really good are way less anxious, and a less anxious horse is a happier horse. So.
And that doesn't mean just tie them up without preparation. There's a lot of ways to prepare a horse to tie. You can go on YouTube and find different ways. We have a couple ways we like to use, but prepare them or find someone to help you get that done the first few times. Okay, those are our 3 tips each, 6 tips total for now. There's only 1,000 other tips we can give you, so tips are not limited to what we just said, but for everyone getting started early on in their tip challenge or makeover, I hope that helps, and we'll see you guys next time. You forgot your tips?
Just my hair looks stupid. I have to burp. Here we go. Tip number... Can't look at myself when I'm talking. It's weird. I'm sweating. Turn the air on. Okay, good luck editing this.
I forgot. What is it? Hold on, I've got it. It's like I forget right there because I'm on a big intro and then I'm like, I have no idea what my next tip is.
Yeah, I do the same thing every time.
What was my 3rd tip?